Welcome. My name is Diana Waring, and I'm glad you're here. Today, I'd like to talk about how to enjoy your kids, because I know from personal experience that that is sometimes a challenge. Let me start with a story I heard when I was in college. It seems that there was a married couple on the verge of divorce. Their last-ditch effort before going through with the legalities was to go to a pastor. After hearing some of their bitter story, the pastor suggested they each take the next several minutes to write out their complaints about the other. Oh, that was so satisfying as each one wrote as fast as they could, listing out each and everything the other had done wrong. It was pretty easy to do too, because they had each rehearsed these things in their minds over and over again. After covering several sheets of paper with detailed descriptions, they finally sputtered to a stop, expecting that they would finally get their chance to tell an objective listener, point by point, how awful the other person was. But to their amazement, the pastor said, "Okay, now I want you to throw those papers in the trash can." They couldn't believe what he said. They just spent all that time and energy and now throw it away? But realizing that the session wouldn't be over until they did it, they each reluctantly dumped the paper in the garbage. Next, the pastor said, "Okay, now get out a fresh sheet of paper and write down all that you appreciate and respect about the other." Again, they looked at him in disbelief. Didn't he get it that they were ready to get a divorce? There was no appreciation or respect for the other. That was the point. And he said, "Think back to when you fell in love. There must have been something you appreciated about the other. It doesn't have to be big. Just write it down." And he waited. Grudgingly, they each picked up a pen and stared at the paper. And eventually they managed to scrawl out one thing. He smiled approvingly and said, "Good. Now, what I want you to do is post that paper where you'll see it several times a day. Read it every time you pass and think about what it says." The end of the story was that several months later, the couple came back to visit the pastor. They told him that this had actually changed everything, that they'd been reminded of what they used to love about each other, and it had helped them rebuild their marriage. The divorce was definitely off the table now. So here's the application to parenting. What happens when you have that child who constantly pushes your button, or doesn't remember to do chores, or can't sit still, or is always dawdling, or you name it? Well, if you're like me, you focus on what they're doing that drives you crazy. And every time they walk in the room, your mind thinks, "Did you do your chores or finish your math?" or whatever the issue is. And you get your serious mother face on with narrowed eyes and tense mouth. And they feel it. They know that you're upset with them, which takes things from bad to worse. It becomes a downward spiral. In order to change this, try doing what that couple did. Write out what you appreciate about this kid, even if you can only think of one thing. It will begin to change your focus from what drives you crazy about this kid to what you love about them. Make a list. Put it in a private place where only you will see it, and then read it every day, several times a day. You know what will happen? Pretty soon, when that child walks in the room, you'll think, "Oh, I love that joke you told this morning. You've got such a great sense of humor." And your eyes will light up, your face will soften, and they will sense it. You'll start enjoying your kids. And that, my friend, is going to revolutionize their lives. See you next time.